We have the founder of Perplexity in the studio. So welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, John. I'm doing
What's
well.
going on? Great to have you.
Can you tell us about the announcement today? What are you announcing? Who are you taking a shot at?
Well, we are going to be partnering with a OEM. I
Cool.
think Bloomberg's already written about it.
Hmm.
Uh, Perplexity will be pre-installed on the phones of that OEM, and we'll be able to like push notify all those users to
Hmm.
set Perplexity as the default assistant on the Android phone. This is a pretty big deal because until now, like people would OEMs would just not even take a meeting with you.
Hmm.
If you ever go to them and say, "Hey, like, what do you think about using an alternative assistant or an alternative search?"
Yep.
They'd be like, Google's just paying too much
Yep.
money. I'm not going to do anything." So it took this long to actually build something pretty differentiated and new, which is obviously, taking actions. We put out a Twitter announcement today morning too, saying we got most of it working on iOS as well.
Hmm.
So I feel like this is the next stage, like, moving all these AI chatbots to native assistants on the phone that not just answer your questions, but also help you get things done.
Is there any hope that there will be a more open ecosystem on the iPhone? I've used the shortcuts function on the action button. It's pretty janky.
Yeah.
I'd love to just remap Siri. I love Apple. I love my phone, but I don't love that particular product. I'd love to swap it out with one of the more founder-led AI companies like yours. Is there any hope there, or is Apple just too dominant in that? And do they view it as too valuable?
I would assume the latter.
Hmm.
I think my hope is at least like let's start with Siri being able to call multiple AI apps.
Sure.
They let the user provide some preferences on what apps they like for what different things.
Hmm.
At least we can start with that. And I think calling other apps could be interesting.
Hmm.
Uh, actually, to be fair to Apple, a lot of it is still exposed in the Apple SDK through the events kit.
Hmm.
So that's how we got things done, like calendar, mail,
Hmm.
reminders. These are all part of their SDK. So you can actually call it podcasts, Apple Music, that's Apple Maps. All of
That's
these
cool.
are possible to integrate into. You cannot do stuff that's more native, like alarms and volume or brightness. People want and everything assistant at the end of the day.
Sure.
So that's their advantage. So I hope like, what they can do is stuff that's so easy and obvious, like setting an alarm or making a phone call or sending a text message. They can just continue to be pretty reliable there.
Hmm.
But anything that's more multi-step in nature, they let the user invoke their favorite AIs to get things done.
Hmm. What lessons have you learned from the antitrust history in big tech, and what are you watching today with the antitrust stories that are unfolding around Google and Meta on Capitol Hill recently?
Yeah, so our one of our executives, Dimitri, is testifying today
Hmm.
for the Google versus DOJ case.
Hmm.
I've already written on X our core points.
Hmm.
I don't think Google should be broken up for
Hmm.
two main reasons. One is it's not even in the interest of America for Google to be broken up.
Hmm.
And number two is it doesn't actually increase competition. It's just gonna like transfer from one monopoly to another.
Yeah.
And actually, they've done a pretty great job at helping other people build browsers. Like Edge, I mean, if you want to use the word wrapper, since I get accused of it a lot, Microsoft Edge is a Chromium wrapper,
Yeah,
right?
that's
And,
right.
and Brave is a
No,
Chromium wrapper.
no, that's a great take. Yeah.
So every other browser that's even managed to take even a tiny bit of market share from Google Chrome has been built on technology that Google did. So we should actually credit them for that. And I don't trust another organization to maintain that open source repository in the same way that they have.
Yeah.
And the other thing, honestly, though, that we're pushing back on against Google is how they couple OEMs to keep them as a default,
Mm.
and don't let the OEMs put in Play Store otherwise.
Mm.
So basically, it's very simple to understand. If if there is like an enthusiastic OEM who wants to ship AIs on their phones,
Yeah.
uh, what Google does is, okay, you can do whatever you want. It won't be an approved Android version of Google.
Mm.
And if it's not, You're not allowed to put Maps, YouTube,
Yep.
Play Store. The one
That's
that
brutal.
affects this the most is the Play Store because
Of
nobody
course.
can see a phone where you cannot install other apps.
Yeah.
And most developers of other companies are not interested in like maintaining versions of their apps for multiple Play Stores. It's a lot of
Yep.
work. Even Samsung couldn't really get Galaxy Store to work.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And Meta, Amazon, all of them tried making their own phones and failed for this very reason. Even if you fork Android and try to make your own phone, you have to convince everybody to actually ship to that particular new Play Store and maintain it and keep improving it. And you're not going to be able to share the Play Store ad revenue and subscription revenue with the OEMs that Google can. So this is the primary problem.
Hmm.
And but that said, like the assistant that they have, Gemini, is actually pretty horrible. And
Hmm.
the model is great, but the product is not.
Yeah.
And there should be no reason to force people to keep that as the default when you have an inferior product, just because you have all these deals and lock-ins. So that's what we're pushing back on in our testimony.
Yeah, just because you build a great foundation model does not give you a guarantee that you'll win at the application layer. And so these wrappers, although they've been derided, like that's the UI layer. That's what's so important to the actual consumer. I want to talk about social networking in the context of foundation models. We've seen the partnership between the merger between X and XAI. There's been rumors that OpenAI might be thinking about doing some sort of social network. Obviously, Zuck has been able to vend Llama into all of the Meta core products. What do you think the future, does every AI company need a social media dance partner? Are we going to see Pinterest and Snap do things? I know some of them have experimented with AI features, but haven't brokered a huge partnership yet. What does the future look like? Are these two technologies like intrinsically linked and destined to be part of one organization, or can an AI company operate independently forever?
Um, I mean, I don't know how social and AI go hand in hand. That it's not that straightforward. Like
Hmm.
if it was, then Meta AI would have already taken off
Sure.
pretty massively, right? Even though it's not the leading model, you could imagine most of the like say let's assume ChatGPT get like a billion queries a day or something.
Hmm.
I don't think like 60 to 70% of them are probably going to be super simple enough that Meta AI is going to work for it.
Totally.
You don't need the fancy models. In fact, most people using ChatGPT in the world don't even know there's a model called O1 or O3
Yep.
and don't even know what the difference is for
Yep.
GPT-4. So I would say the main problem is it's not AI is still very single player.
Hmm.
The only experiment that I feel took off on social is this thing that we did first called Ask Perplexity Bot on X.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
I
of
see that
course,
all the time in the comments. Yeah, it's great.
XAI also,
As a Grok.
implemented that with at Grok, and they have way more advantages because they own the platform, no
Yep.
rate limits, and like they can drive installs of their app through that. So it's like a pretty good experiment that worked. So I could imagine Meta doing this, like, on Threads, there could be like a add Meta AI and or it could automatically reply. You could do all sorts of cool things.
Yep.
So it's more like the other way where a social network can help you grow usage of an AI app
Hmm.
pretty immensely,
Hmm.
compared to like an AI app benefiting from social layer, so far at least.
Yeah.
But if you could figure out social for an AI app within the app itself, it can definitely make it more daily usage and high retention, which is what most AI apps struggle with today.
Hmm.
Can you talk about how you're thinking about your own models going forward versus leveraging the existing models? You guys have Sonar and then
Yeah,
our 1776.
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
yeah.
curious
I
how
want to know
you're
about more about that.
where you're looking to focus going forward.
I think we'll continue to keep the same strategy, which is have a version of our product that can run with our own models, but not hinder or disrupt the user from this best experience that we can provide to them. If we're not able to do it with our own model, we'll just use other people's models. We have no problems with that. Our belief is that nobody's going to have a lead in having the best AI model for more than a few weeks. The pace at which the field is moving, like Anthropic did the 3.7 Sonnet,
Hmm.
and then within a few weeks, like Google did Gemini 2.5 Pro, which was way better. Grok 3 came out, and then OpenAI has O3 and O4. There's always some debate on like what is the best model, but they're all looking the same, and they're all good for a certain specific set of things.
Yeah.
We cannot like
Do you think in 5 years the average internet user will have a favorite model, or they just won't even know the underlying model that they're using, and they'll just be sort of the software application layer will just be serving the most effective model for the task.
I think it's going to be more like the second case. The main reason I believe that's going to be like that because everybody's just chasing the same benchmarks. Everyone has the same set of benchmarks, LMSys, LMArena, GAIA, GPQA, and Humanity Last Exam. And they're just trying to like show their AI is the best. And so they do all the same sort of things that you do in RLHF. And it ends up making the models like look similar. Yes, there are some like tasteful things some model developers do, like some people like the way Claude responds. Some people like Grok's satire, but these are all like easy to build. It's not that hard. The difficulty, which is why everybody's working on the difficult problem, is making these truly smart and like better at all these reasoning tasks. And so that's going to end up making all these models roughly similar looking to the average user.
That makes sense. When do you and the team decide when something is ready to ship? With the voice assistant today, one of the massive advantages that I think you guys have is the culture of Apple specifically is about perfection, right? It's about pixel perfect design. It's not. It doesn't feel like the culture is sort of comfortable making mistakes. You can see the even iMessage summaries being very embarrassing to them, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like as a big company now, but still relatively young, you guys have the advantage of being able to move quickly, try things, and iterate.
Yeah. So I'll literally read out to you the chat I had with our engineer who worked on this. We good to launch and announce today? Question mark. And then he's like, yes, still making some improvements, but let's launch.
That's
And me,
awesome.
like, do you want to address some of the onboarding concerns people had, like all the which calendar or which maps to use? And he's like, yeah, they're valid concerns, but I'm worried about waiting too long to launch. The Apple engineer in me says to wait until it's perfect. The Perplexity engineer in me says that's why Apple has never launched anything lately. So,
Amazing.
That's great.
and then
Do
I
you have a
said,
sound
okay,
effect?
let's roll.
Do you have a sound effect for us, Jordy? Founder mode. Okay. Anyway, you posted what's a social app that doesn't exist yet, but you wish existed, doesn't need to get to 100 million or a billion users. What
Yeah,
did you learn from that? What was exciting, and what do you think you might stay
I
away
think,
from?
yeah. The major learning was the OG Facebook
Mm-hmm.
and Usenet. These were the two main ideas. Mark Andreessen actually talked to me after that. This is like his pet idea that he always keeps coming back to
Yeah.
apparently. And Bloomberg Terminal is another interesting thing
Mm,
where,
yeah.
nobody thinks about it as a social network, but
No,
it
it
is
is.
what it is today. People are not
Totally.
leaving it because of the network it has, right? And it's very elite because you have to actually pay that much money to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
But then because of that, the quality of like exchanges are also high, or
Mm-hmm.
at least that it gives you this feeling of exclusivity, which is
Yeah.
what Facebook leaned on to in the early days, where they were only in Ivy League colleges and stuff. And so I think that concept can be explored. Clubhouse definitely tried that and failed.
Yeah.
So it's not like, bulletproof,
Mm-hmm.
but that can certainly be explored again. If you want to build an app that doesn't have like too many users, you need to gate it in some way,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's by pay to play or like some other kind of eliteness criterion. It's not clear.
Yeah.
But then what after you get in should also be thought about.
Yeah.
The quality of exchanges should be high. Like in some sense, Elon has turned X into something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of trolls, there are a lot of random accounts and all that stuff, but by forcing people to have the blue mark and paying $8 a month and all that stuff, I think he's already made it like much better than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So a more aggressive version of that could be explored. He could explore it himself, like if there's a super premium version where you only get to like respond to some people if you're paying even more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how would that make the quality of exchanges on the platform? It's not clear because there's the other side of the story where some people like Bill Ackman come and respond to random people on X.
Yeah.
And the reason he gives is like, I like the attention. I'm even on a vacation, I want to come and like keep replying. I like the dopamine hits of like getting notifications. So it's not like if you get billionaires, they want to stay with the other billionaires or stay exclusive. I think they actually like using a product like X to stay connected to the normal people.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't quite cracked the idea yet.
I want to pitch you an idea that we've been kicking around here. Might be terrible, but in terms of like the LLM research, AI driven social network, I find myself doing a lot of very niche, deep research reports. Sometimes I did a whole deep dive on deep research report on Toma Bravo, and then I did another one on the story of Johnny Carson, the original host of the Tonight Show. Fascinating. I don't know how I wound up down that rabbit hole. I really enjoyed it. If I'm on Perplexity and I ask some really interesting question, because asking interesting questions is often more challenging than getting a great answer. What if I could click a button and publish it to an internal network, and then Jordy can follow me on Perplexity. He can see my most interesting questions. Not going to see the whole feed because maybe I'm asking about a healthcare issue, but if I choose to share it, I'm just sharing my result, and then they can click in. Oh, John was interested in this specific thing. Maybe I'll take a tour down his research result. Is that an interesting option, or is there something I'm missing that's actually a terrible idea?
No, it's not a terrible idea. We've considered this exact idea.
Awesome.
And obviously the more I keep working on features, people ridicule me that what are you doing when your core product is failing and buggy and like going down, and like you're going down the drain and like you're taking the company down. So I read all that stuff too. So
don't let the haters get to you. Don't let the haters get to you.
So
Ignore
look,
them.
I think that some of them have a valid point though. Like
Sure.
more features you keep introducing to the product,
Yeah.
you just lose sight of the core focus, why the product even exists in the first place, and making it like a pretty bad experience. And then you win on neither of these things. But I do agree with you. Like it'd be great to share the Perplexity threads or like that you create. We have this thing called Discover. And we're trying to increase the volume of content on Discover. And once we do that in an automatic way, with curation to users' interests, like we're going to let some of the users try to like publish it to Discover on their own, just like a creator on YouTube does it. And then if a few people engage with the like the TikTok algorithm, we're going to try to surface it to more people. That is the long-term idea. That's why I'm even having the Discover Pro. A lot of people even ask me why does this thing even exist? Because I want to keep it as the optionality to like have a social product within Perplexity.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
If you have another minute, I'm curious how you're thinking about shopping, how much time you and the team are putting into this. It's obviously a very exciting opportunity. And I know you've shared some about what you guys are doing before.
Yeah, so last year, towards the end of last year, we launched Perplexity Pro Shopping, where you can, and once you do a shopping query, we're not just giving you the answer, but giving you the product cards, and we could even let you buy it directly from there. Some of the things we surfaced from Shopify with their API and like let you buy with Shop Pay, and some of the things we ourselves integrated with some merchants and like did the checkout flow ourselves, and you wouldn't even have to go and check out on the merchant side. You can just do it directly on Perplexity. We thought this would be the best innovator dilemma angle against Google, because Google, even if Gemini gives you shopping answers, they have no incentive to like let you transact, because like they make money by sending you to merchant sites. That's why Google Flights doesn't let you book flights on Google. You have to book it on Expedia or Booking.com. Hotels, same thing. So I think that's why we worked on travel and shopping, where we let people try to book directly. We have some ideas on how to incentivize it, like free shipping or like X% off on hotel bookings done on Perplexity. But what we learned the hard way is people actually want really good results first. That's why they're even coming here. They don't care if they transact here or not. It's a secondary thing. That is only if the result quality is so good are they interested in the last step. And we didn't quite get that right in the whatever we did end of November. So that's what we spent time on in the first quarter, is to just improve the UI, improve the latency, improve the relevance, make sure the cards are like up to date, high quality, filter all the low merchants, like low quality merchants. Make sure like even images for every card is present. Like this is all a lot of boring work that LLMs don't solve. Same thing with hotels. Like TripAdvisor data is great. We work with them, but like there are so many other places on the web where there are good reviews that people want to know. And you
Yeah.
gotta like aggregate all of that. And this is why I think like model companies are not guaranteed to win the application layer because you have to work on all these boring things. And then sometimes when people book a hotel on Perplexity, like when you actually go to the hotel, like they say the booking never came through.
Mm.
So there's a lot of real world problems you hidden, like packages might not get delivered. You don't have a way to track the package because the merchant still does the shipping. We don't do that. So TikTok, if you notice, TikTok has a shop tab, which literally looks like Amazon now. And I heard like they even have their own fulfillment in Seattle. They hired people from
Interesting.
Amazon and like they're doing their own shipping.
That's
So
crazy.
that's my lesson from this is you want to go to a vertical, you have to go all in and like nail like be prepared to like play the long game there.
How do you think about manufacturing viral moments? You guys had a cool experiment with your Super Bowl activation. I'd love to get a postmortem on that. But then you're also not afraid to go and you did this sort of Squid Games campaign that I saw getting a lot of attention as well. How do you think going forward, sort of balancing these more like scrappy kind of organic activations versus, going big and working with, global celebrities to build the brand?
I think we should keep being scrappy. The thing, it's by the way, like he's a pretty global star, like well-known star. Like people recognize his face pretty quickly, but he's also not like as expensive as Hollywood people, and so
Yep.
that's why we decided to work with him. And the other thing is like it's the concept that matters at the end, right? Like coming up with the right concept is more important than like who you work with. And we'll still try to keep doing these one-off viral moments. It's about taking bets, not all of them land.
Yep.
The Super Bowl was good. Like in fact, like the retention from people who came to the Super Bowl exceeded my expectations. And again, like whether it's better than doing Instagram ads, it's not clear to me yet. We have to explore all these different platforms. But I do think there's like, two things you benefit from, right? Like we did this thing with Ben Shapiro where in his podcast, like he pulls up Perplexity and asks questions. I think like that doesn't actually convert. Like you cannot track performance, but it does lead to more brand awareness. Like if they're like he has a lot of listeners and like it's a different way of doing ads on a podcast
Yep.
where you're not actually like having him say Perplexity is awesome, go and install it.
Yep.
It's more like watching him use it and then you learn what the product is and what it's meant to be used for. Kind of inspired by Joe Rogan's Pull It Up Jamie, where
Yeah.
all the time Google is being used there.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, we do that with Polymarket. We pull up Polymarkets all the time and recommend that people go and download and install
Yeah,
the Polymarket app.
that's pretty awesome. Yeah.
It works really well.
I'm curious. You mentioned earlier, people sort of yapping on X, trying to sound in on your product strategy. How do you balance like, on X, it's like an echo chamber of people that are in Silicon Valley working on AI, but like Perplexity in theory doesn't really care about people on like, in San Francisco, or New York or
It's
these
just
sort of
not
hubs, right?
the
It's like
final market.
you care a lot more about like, some random person in Arkansas is like
Yeah.
wanting an answer about something and using the app. How do you personally kind of like
Yeah.
think
Everyone in
about
Silicon
threading the
Valley could
needle?
switch to DuckDuckGo and Google would be unaffected. That's
Yeah.
like the lesson from the last era. And so you could do the same thing. But yeah, I'm interested to hear your take.
I think this is both my like weakness and strength. I spend a lot of time on this platform, so I understand it better. But then like we are living in a bubble. Like there most people are only using ChatGPT and they haven't even heard about like most of the other apps. I think
Yep.
Elon has managed to break that a little bit because he has 200 million followers. So
Yep.
essentially he reaches a lot of people. But that's kind of why we want to do more of these Instagram related things, with the commercials, Super Bowl. Like these are our attempts. Actually, if you notice the Super Bowl tweets didn't actually matter on X. Like most people made fun of it or didn't even engage with it, but it did help us get a lot of like mainstream normal people become aware of the app and use it. Same thing with the Legion J commercial. Like it helped increase our usage in other countries outside countries that don't even use X. So I believe the platform that has the most people in the world is Instagram, for good or bad. Like if you go to any city outside the Bay Area, just watch which app like people are having on their phone. It's mostly Instagram or
Interesting.
WhatsApp. It's not really X.
Yeah. Makes
Do you
sense.
spend a lot of time thinking about AGI, or is there just enough consumer application features to build that it's almost a distraction?
I do spend time thinking about it. In some sense, it's a unique opportunity to have like the ability to have the front end, which people can feel the AGI, let's say.
Yeah.
So you do want to think about experiences where people can be made to feel the AI, and that creates that jaw-dropping, magical end consumer experience. So that's kind of why we worked on all these pro searches, voice assistants, agents. We're working on the browser agents. You can only do all that if you're like making some predictions of where these models could potentially get to and try to build before even they get there. You don't want to be late. You want to build at the right moment where, like, kind of like how we built Perplexity around the GPT 3.5 time, not GPT 4 time. It would have been too late then. You need to pick your moment. So you do need to think about AGI. That said, I'm not a believer in like, fear mongering. I just think it's already happened. Like the genie's out of the bottle. China versus America, that race is already going on. Nobody's going to slow down. And everybody wants glory. Nobody cares about other people or something. Everybody wants glory and some kind of power to control the future. So let's just like accept the truth and move on and try to like make sure everyone knows how to use the AI so that their livelihood doesn't get affected.
That makes sense.
Makes sense.
I was thinking about it. I don't know of another $10 billion plus AI startup founder who's not constantly promising that AGI is like 2 months away to get, you're just
The
like,
next
let's
round.
focus on our users and focus on the
It's
opportunity.
probably the right thing. I mean, speaking of the foundation models on a more practical level, where are you seeing the most interesting vectors of optimization? People are focused on large context windows,
Yeah.
huge pre-training runs, but there's been some debate about, are we hitting a pre-training wall? Are we hitting a data wall? RL's very hot right now.
Yeah.
Where do you think the foundation model labs need to go, and what are you specifically excited about? I imagine that maybe a code generation model, not super important to your business, but something that's more knowledgeable and hallucinates less about facts, extremely valuable. So what do you want to see?
I think RL is the place where most investments are going to go to, especially with models like O3 that are able to do tool calls pretty natively,
Yeah.
rather than being prompt engineered to do that. Or like, for example, before O3, the way we built like our agents is there would be one model that came up with a plan for the query, another model that would execute the plan by converting the plan to like smaller queries, filtering links, calling searches,
Sure.
and then another summarization model that actually takes all the results of the planner and the router and like summarize things. Now it's all like one single model. That's great. Like that means like you have to like rebuild it. You have to throw away lines of code and rewrite it. But we've been doing this since the beginning. Like people think like Perplexity has remained a stagnant code base or something. It's always changed as soon as like models became more capable. But the interesting thing about the native tool call kind of models is that if we want like a Sonar version of the product that runs on our own setup, we also need to start doing post-training beyond just training for instruction following and summarization, but like also like tool calls and completing tasks using RO. And we hope to collect all this interesting data through the browser platform, where like people are giving tasks on our browser, and then obviously some of the agents will fail there, but we'll collect all the data and like try to create like positive trajectories, create like eval suites, and then do RL post training on that. And so the nice thing is a lot of open source code bases exist on how to replicate GRPO or PPO
Yeah.
and post train these models, and we've been doing that work already. So that's where we plan to invest more resources into for this year.
How are you thinking about advertising in the context of search? It's historically been an ad-driven business, but we're seeing a
Yeah.
lot of AI product companies just charge $20 a month, $200 a month, $2,000 a month. Who knows? Is there a future where If you search for what's the best corporate card, Ramp is gonna show up at the top if they bid on that.
Hopefully not. I think that's the main reason why people like using the AIs. They think it's giving them something that Google doesn't offer. And so I think the subscription revenue is very healthy and positive. Like OpenAI is making 10 billion a year or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or 7 billion, something like that. So definitely that's only going to grow. And if AI start doing things, not just answering questions or writing code, people will pay even more because they kind of think about it as hiring somebody. If you look at the amount of people pay for personal assistants,
Yep.
chief of staffs, personal chief of staff, estate managers, nannies, like, it's a lot of money. And there are like a lot of people who can afford all that. And we're talking about doing something 100x cheaper and also economically 10 to 100x more valuable in terms of end output. So I think the subscription TAM is way bigger than what it is today.
Interesting. Huh, interesting.
I believe like you can do a lot of interesting things with memory where once you understand the user deeply enough, the user can probably trust you if you show them relevant sponsored content, as long as it's super personalized and hyper optimized for that user. Instagram has shown some stats where the engagement time on their platform reduces if they remove the ads, because that's the level of personalization of the ads. So if
Interesting.
any of the AI companies can do that, uh, I think that could be like a thing where brands could pay a lot more money to advertise there.
Yeah.
So that's yet to be explored, but in order to crack that, you need to crack memory properly. That's kind of one of the other reasons we wanted to build a browser is like we want to get data even outside the app to better understand you. Because some of the prompts that people do in these AIs is purely work related. It's not like that personal.
Yep.
On the other hand, like what are the things you're buying? Which hotels are you going? Where are you? Which restaurants are you going to? What are you spending time browsing? Tells us so much more about you that we plan to use all the context to build a better user profile and maybe through our Discover feed we could show some ads there.
Makes no sense.
How quickly do you want to launch Comet? Do you have a launch date in
It
mind?
was
I'm
supposed to be
assuming you want to
launched
launch it
already.
this
Uh,
afternoon.
yeah, it was supposed to be out by now. We got delayed. I think partly because we underestimated the difficulty of the project, and partly because we tried to do multiple things. And so we've tried to scope it down, and we're aiming to get it out by mid-May.
Awesome.
Well, good luck.
Last question I have.
Yeah.
You posted ByteDance of America is worth building. I'm assuming you're building the ByteDance of America.
I hope to be able to, but we need to earn the right to do that. So let's first, like, I want to succeed with the Comet browser. I think that'll be like the real second product of Perplexity. Everything else we launched, like the assistant or the like apps, platforms, is all like just different versions of the same thing.
Yep.
The Comet will be the first really truly different product, and I think if we can do that a second time, I believe like we can and Discover. That's the other product we're trying. Though it's within the app right now, but you could imagine spinning it out as a separate app too. You could imagine us like earning the right to do that. I think there's lot like I've spoken to the founder of ByteDance, and one thing he told me is they're structured in a very different way. It's not like CapCuts or TikTok have like different growth teams. They do have their own growth teams, but there's one team in ByteDance that takes care of infrastructure for all their companies, one team that takes care of growth for all their companies, one team that takes care of front end mobile development for all their apps. And so they share knowledge across apps very quickly. It's insane. So that sort of structure doesn't exist in the US. Like take Google is actually the closest to ByteDance of America if you think about it. They have so many different apps in one umbrella, but they don't share lessons. Like the YouTube team is so different from the Gmail team, so
Yeah,
different
that's
from
a
the
good
Chrome team,
point.
and that's why it takes so much time to collaborate. So you need a very different leadership structure and a culture to make it happen in America.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Cool.
Every time I ask you one more question, I get one more question, and this I promise is the last.
That's like how people use Perplexity.
Yeah.
That's great.
Without violating any NDAs, what's going on with TikTok? Speaking of ByteDance, there was a big flurry. Everybody was submitting, bids, and then it's been quiet. Do you have any insight that is not necessarily confidential?
Yeah, what is
I
Polymarket?
really don't. We've submitted our bid. We never expected to be the leading candidate or anything. We're a very small company compared to them. Our bid was more interesting in the sense that everybody else who bid for them did not want to do anything to do with the algorithm. But I felt like the core problem is fact that like the algorithm is controlled by China in some form or the other.
Yep.
Even if they say, okay, the Chinese app is separate, uh, apps running outside the US and outside China, like European countries, are all sharing the same code.
Hmm.
And so they can get to like use that data and influence, what feeds people in America see. So I think like that's where we wanted to do some real work, and the search bar is another place where we want to do some real work. We thought our
Yep.
proposal was pretty interesting, but there are some, we're not a data center company. We cannot guarantee them security and all that. Oracle can. So we'll see what happens. I think they've delayed the decision, and it's probably going to be coupled with the tariff situation too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for wearing a suit as well.
Yeah, you look
sharp.
fantastic.
Thanks.
And
You guys are killing it. Like
Thank you.
Technology Brothers. I like the name. Yes.
It's awesome.
Well, it's great to have you on, fellow technology brother, and come back on anytime when you have news.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.